Right, I'm going to do three quick standards here together, and nothing has changed much with these, to be fair. So we have your borrowing costs, and I think with borrowing costs, first of all, the standard requires us to capitalize costs related purely to borrowing. So we suspend when construction is interrupted. Now, the other important thing to highlight here is this issue of, I mean, this does come, I mean, nothing's changed. It's still FR that applies here, but just be very wary of when money is invested in other areas. You cannot kind of have your cake and eat it. So you cannot be recognizing interest income if you're on the one hand and capitalizing borrowing costs on the other. So no, you can't do that. So you have to recognize or match any interest income gained in the period of the capitalization against the capitalized cost. So when I say have your cake and eat it, you can't make income and also defer your costs as well. So that's the key thing. But otherwise, I'm sure you're aware with the whole. If you're not constructing, then it's all just interest expense. Anyway, so that's that. IAS 20 government grants. Key point here is that we only recognize when conditions for receipt have been complied with. Income grants given to subsidize should be matched to related costs, right? So you have your asset, and then you have your income, and then just derecognize it from there against your depreciation costs, because that's your asset, but and you have your depreciation costs, right? And then you're just mapping those to that, and you're getting along with it. And the last one in this little motley of IASs is this IAS 40, investment property. The aim is to earn rentals, capital appreciation, and we have land held for capital appreciation, land held for undecided future use, building leases, under operating leases. So the key point here is that you're holding this thing for rent and to see appreciation. Everything is at fair value. Everything is at fair value. So recognize it. Well, when I say everything's at fair value, you can recognize and hold at cost. But again, the question of relevance and the nature of the flows are critical to deciding what you should do. So, and in terms of costs, how often can you be getting it fair value evaluated? And that's the thing here. The other thing to think about is that once it looks like a owner occupied property, so falling within PPE, then you need to derecognize it from IAS 40 under PPE IAS 16. So that's the key point. And that's when the context is beginning to look as though you own the thing. So you're providing more of the services to maintaining the building, and you basically own the building and people are just living in there. It's quite thin, but it's important to be aware that it's quite easy to slip from something being an investment property into it being an asset on your PPE, and then you just renting it out, but it's part of yours. The fact that it must really be available for sale, or you're holding it for sale, so to speak, is critical for it to fall under IAS 40. Cool, great stuff. Yes, and that's the end. And once you put it in the PPE, you start following what's going on with PPE, and you transfer it at the fair value on the date that you actually transferred it from from IAS 40 to PPE. Cool, great, and that's that.